much are they paying you for that T-shirt?
Recording is on.
Okay, welcome to the weekly call, everybody. So we'll start with the product.
Semanal. I mean, we have to do some Spanish, guys. Like, it's only for English-speaking people. You are living in Lotto.
Who's this troublemaker speaking up at the beginning of the call? What is it, Augusto?
This is the beauty of our governance. Okay, let's start.
Okay, we're good. So I think Elon has to go, and he wanted to say a few things about the DXdao deployment. So I'm going to give him the floor for a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, I won't be able to stay for the entire call, so I didn't want to wait till the end. I will post the signaling contract in the chat in a second. Just wanted to say that, again, we are trying to create a copy of the DXdao on XDAI. That in order to do that, we have to remap all the Gnosis safe wallets. And because we cannot do any signed message or any other kind of solutions, we have to, we built a contract. Well, Peppo built a contract. Nico helped a lot with like analyzing this. And basically, you sign a transaction with your destination XDAI address. And hopefully everyone will be able to do that soon. We want to deploy the DXdao on October 1st. So go ahead and do that quickly. And yeah, if there are any questions regarding that, I will, over the weekend, I will post like a few directions that I think the DAO could go to. I would say that the main one is kind of what Corcus describes as another base of the DAO on XDAI. So we'll have similar functionalities. And yeah, like the way I see it, it could be sort of like a DAO that funds a lot of things because it's cheaper and it doesn't have to do anything on mainnet. So the DXdao will transfer funds to this every quarter or something, and then distribute funds to people. Yeah. So that's that, and I'll post this in a second. Any questions?
Is there like a hard deadline for all the people?
Yeah. So we will deploy it on October 1st with all the mapping that we could. But even if you didn't make it, or you forgot, or you didn't care, you'll be able to add it at a later period. Like you'll be able to add yourself, basically.
I think this is really cool, and I think we're kind of at the point where we can. There was a lot of work kind of getting to the point where this could happen, and a lot of back and forth. And now I think we're kind of shifting to, okay, what exactly do we want to do with it, and what kind of flexibility? And I think that's kind of, will drive the conversation going forward.
Right. Like what types of proposals do we want to vote on in the XDAI? Which ones do we want main chain? Just think about that.
Yeah. I would. I hope that I'll be able to get this done by the weekend. But the way I'm thinking about this is that, most like fund, like money to do with money proposals. So even like worker proposals, and, fund distributions like that. There is kind of like an issue, and I'm working on the solution. The issue is that the reputation mapping will change, right? So like if you're in the XDAI DAO and you start accumulating reputation, it won't reflect on mainnet, and vice versa. So in order to kind of like combat that, I'm proposing like a quarterly update to basically everyone to equalize it. Yes, that's that.
Yeah, maybe like to just quickly talk about the transfer of funds to XDAI. There's like, I bet we will need a trusted transfer, which means some members need to volunteer into a multisig to like make that quick, just for like the next month, so we kind of can actually use XDAI for operational purpose, which means like, and that could be like immediately used to actually like exchange stuff for DXswap, just to make sure that we are like on time for both projects. Yeah,
I would say that I'm willing to take this on me to create a proposal of like, okay, let's start the funding of 10K to the DXdao. I'm sending it to this Ethereum address. The entire ETH that I will receive will actually be converted and sent to the DXdao. So, yeah, I mean, to start with, it could be something like that. Any more questions? I just shared the link. So if you need to map, this is how you do it. And at the bottom, we have kind of, oh wait, I guess we're not doing that anymore.
Elon, is that the right link? I think for DAO Talk.
Oh, no, that's not the right link.
It says 17th.
No, that's not the right link. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's just a different
post. Yeah, just like I think I checked today, it was like 5 people who actually did it. I remember there was like more than 50 Gnosis saves. So there is definitely some room to improvement for the signaling. So guys, if you have a Gnosis save and didn't do it, you probably should do it today. And yeah, we should like talk about that for the next 7 days.
Yeah, we can talk about this. Like, I guess it's relevant to so many calls, like development, governance, and you know, biz dev as well. So we can talk about this in each one of those for a few minutes. And yeah, sorry, here's the right link, and yeah, yeah, I think that's it.
Thanks, Elon. Okay, cool. Let's move to the products then. And Korkis, do you want to talk Omen?
Yeah, so I think the biggest news is that Vitalik tweeted about Omen, and which already get us like, think 10% more members in the Telegram group. That's crazy. I think it's up from 210 to 240 or something, a little bit more than 10%. So that's great. He actually likes our product, and yeah, so that's it. We announced the version 1.1.6. We found an issue with the way the subgraph is working with both lists. So at some point, a market is just not showing up. That was fixed, and that was like the blocker which blocked us to actually like that someone is actually making a proposal for the release 1.1.6. Caden is primarily focusing on getting up to speed with the subgraph. So there's like, in general, like a slower moving process, just because there needs to be like knowledge getting up to speed with how subgraph works. But he's primarily focusing on improving the My Markets view. I prepared a lot of stuff for, I would call it Omen version 3, and I did a lot of redesign based on things I saw which didn't work out with version 2, or even like the current version. So there's a lot of stuff on GitHub. I would like to get like feedback. I think Sky already pushed out like pretty good feedback for me. One thing, I will send you guys a link. Yeah, and with that, I think like I hope this like those designs will make sure that there will be not a major redesign in the next year, just to make like it is in a way so open that we can extend it with features. Like I imagine in a few months we will see some kind of order book exchange in Omen, just to make sure we are not betting completely on the automated market maker feature, but actually extending Omen to be like a proper auger killer. Yeah. So the designs are ready. They are like small stuff which needs to be polished. But I think Omen version 3 is almost ready as like a proper package for the developers to be implemented. In terms of developers, we have a new member hopefully joining soon. His name is Dev Violets. So yeah, Omen team is increasing in size, which is amazing.
Good to see the dev community growing. It's great to see. I can do a quick. Does anybody else have anything on Omen before moving?
One of the feedbacks on Vitalik's tweet was Omen's awesome, but the gas was high. So we are still trying to figure out the last small technical problems with the Omen Ethereum kind of partnership.
Yeah, to that point, we had a call today with Gnosis, and there's one major issue which was there since the first version of Omen, which at some point the gas estimation was completely broken, and people like MetaMask requested more than 1 ETH for gas fees, which is like not acceptable. And it seems like we're in a position right now where we can replicate the issue, and we will dig into it with Alan. So I really hope this is fixed, because it is like a deeper bug, which is very difficult to find right now, but we are like on it right now. And also Claros is like almost done with the bridge for XDAI. So once our base on XDAI is installed, there's probably no reason why Omen shouldn't be ready for XDAI too. But this is like if you want 2 weeks of getting stuff done to make sure to make sure that Omen works on XDAI.
So the estimation of the gas limit is broken?
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's market specific. Like I have one market with USDC, which always has this very broken gas limit estimation, but other markets with different currencies work just fine. So yeah, we need to dig into it.
So the eventual gas cost is much lower. Just the user will be kind of scared because it will look like very high.
Exactly. If you change the gas limit manually on MetaMask, it will just work, but it just scares the user.
Yeah, this is actually the same in Alchemy. What MetaMask does is it multiplies the gas amount. So it will likely be that it shows you that you'll pay $8, and then it will probably be around $4. So yeah.
Won't this make the gas be higher if everyone uses MetaMask? Like if everyone is bidding higher?
No, it's just the estimation, because you're putting like a roof of how much the transaction will spend. So if you don't use that entire thing, you get the rest of it refunded. And because MetaMask doesn't want lots of transactions to fail, they just decided to multiply whatever the estimation is, and then almost no transactions fail.
Yeah, I don't think it's a MetaMask issue, because the Ethereum integration had the same issue, which is the main blocker for why we don't push the Ethereum integration out into the public. Because at some point they just say the transaction doesn't work because the gas limit is too high or something.
Interesting. So it might be like with Geth?
There's like a library we use for the Gnosis Safe proxy, and we expect that there's something there.
Zoran is asking whether Omen could be integrated with Rails, which is an interesting question. He's asking in the chat. So like Rails is a front end to Loopring, the ZK rollup to their layer 2, which is geared in the Rails front end is geared just towards transactions, versus Loopring already has an interface for the DEX, right? So yeah, as like Sky is pointing out, like Omen can't be deployed on the ZK rollup as far as we know today, but in theory it is possible that you know, the 1155s could be either wrapped or even the new loop ring version maybe even supports them, and you could actually do trading. It's possible. It would be possible to move the tokens to loop ring and have trading there. To
that point, the conditional token explorer is in development, and it seems like there will be a release in the next couple of weeks where people can wrap tokens. It's way more than just wrapping, because you can create sets of conditions. Like you can create a basket of Trump conditions which are like interconnected, which is very interesting. And those tokens can be wrapped into ERC20 tokens and then traded on Loopring. So it's like it's technically possible, and I hope it will happen at some point.
Right. One quick word on that, guys. It's something we've spoken about with certain people, and like there's a strong interest. It might actually be perfect for the DXdao to be like a big part of that solution on the front end side, because what's preventing us from putting up just tokenizing and putting either, like, to be frank, either Omen outcomes or Augur outcomes, who has reached out to us, is just the fact that like we run that front end and we're not sure the regulatory rules there, so we aren't really inclined to put those bets, or like however they're viewed, on the same front end with like whatever the digital commodities or the more well-known regulatory like treated assets. So if there could, like, Loopring.io front end is also open source. If ever we really want to do it, we being the DXdao and Omen, we could fork that, paint it the same way as Rails or otherwise, and the DXdao could run it. You know, we show our strength there and host it on ENS and IPFS. So yeah, it's just a front end thing. We could put those outcomes like right now on Loopring if they're wrapped, but we just cannot put them on that same UI for just regulatory uncertainty. If we ever want to experiment with it, we could probably do a pretty easy experiment. Just fork Loopring.io, or even fork Federico's swap.loopring.io, which just abstracts the order book. But yeah, it's just like a front end question.
Yeah, or even like go all in and integrate Loopring completely into Omen.
Right.
And of course, one of the barriers is the gas cost to get onto the ZK rollup.
That's true. Right now, it's still 274,000 gas, but starting in December, like with version 3.6, that's now finally being audited, it'll be 5,000 gas. So I'm so happy that'll be solved. We'll never have like a scary gas price for people to just onboard. Although I shouldn't say never. Maybe in 10,000 Gwei gas price, it's still but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's and even that's like a secular trend that the DXdao could lean into, like, because Loopring will be like bringing people and assets and liquidity like onto the rollup already, right? They're kind of trying to do it, so the DXdao would just like almost benefit from others kind of providing that. Man, the layer 2 stuff is just going to be so interesting.
A small interjection here. I don't really believe that paying to get on the ZK rollup is such an issue. It's more of a trust issue, because you would only have 2 transactions that cost gas, which is depositing and withdrawing eventually. And in the meantime, anything you deposit, you'll be free to play with as much as you want in a financial sense.
Right.
Maybe survey on like the Rails Twitter and ask, like, would $5 up front and $5 getting out stop you from unlimited free instant transactions?
Yeah, imagine using Compound and only paying twice instead of 2 times every time you want to do something different.
Right.
So there is a rumor that Synthetics is launching their layer 2 on Optimism like today or tomorrow. So it could see some additional action here.
Yeah, I just really want to play around with optimistic rollup. Like I just want to have the feeling about how it works, and then I decide if I'm convinced about it or not.
Right. One plug here related to this thing. If anybody does want to look at AMMs on ZK rollups, there's a few days left of the Chainlink Hackathon where we put out just a really nice technical workshop. I shared it in the group yesterday, where our chief architect describes how to write an AMM contract for layer 2 settlement. So I don't even know if anyone's doing it. So I'd love to give a DXdao person the $1,500. I guess a developer from the DXdao, if they have time to build anything, even in a few hours, they might win the prize. So just and a good way, as Chris says, something that we'll maybe one day lean into. So yeah, there's a really good video for developers, a technical workshop that describes AMMs on ZK rollup. But yeah, I'm excited to see optimistic rollups too. I'm really excited for that. One other little practical thing, talking about $5 to get on or whatever. There's currently a little an issuer of a Canadian dollar stablecoin. They're called QCAD. They just got on Loopring ZK rollup. If you don't have an account yet, activate your layer 2. We changed the word from register an account to activate, as some of you saw. If you activate your account for the first time with the code QCAD, like QCAD, Q Canadian dollar, you get 5 QCAD in your layer 2 account. So that subsidizes your entrance fee. That's like 5 Canadian dollars is like $3.75 US. So good. If anyone needed a bit of prodding, it's a nice little thing. Yeah, just FYI, a little code.
Get my loonies and my toonies out of the drawer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, I'm gonna let's move on to Mesa. I'm going to have kind of quick update there. There's a new release that just came out from the Gnosis team on the core open source repo. So should be a new Mesa release to follow shortly. The main kind of additional feature here, as far as I understand it, is like an estimation for a minimal trade. So it will show the user kind of what the minimum volume is to create enough incentive for the solver to submit a solution. And yeah, because basically the solver needs to make enough money off of the fees on the trade, which are pretty low on Gnosis protocol, in order to justify the like gas costs, et cetera, that they're expending to submit the solution. Yeah, and in addition to that, there's work being done on a more traditional order book UI. So right now it's something of a hybrid, kind of like you have to pop into the order book on the modal. So sooner or later, there should be some work getting done on kind of making it look, I guess, something more like a Loopring. And then the other thing is probably in the next version. So I'm guessing, a matter of weeks, Mesa should be able to support XDAI as well. Does Chen or Yuri, did you guys have anything to add on Mesa or?
Yeah, so earlier this week in the Biz call, Anna from Gnosis came and talked about the incentive program for Gnosis protocol. So there's, I guess you can find it, or I can find it and link it here. But yeah, it's a nice incentive for the DXdao to push for more volume on Mesa. So probably next month there's Luna and Fuse. By the way, Fuse submitted the proposal to list the token on Mesa today. So have a look at this in Alchemy. And also crypto locally. So a bunch of potential ideas for next month, and all that volume will count for rewards for the DXdao.
I think it's up to 5,000 GNO through the end of the year, which is currently valued, I think, around $200,000. if I remember correctly. Okay, great. Anything else on Mesa?
No, not on my end.
Cool, okay. Augusto, if you're there, do you want to give an update on DXSwap?
Yeah, we have a call. Well, actually, we have, I think, 2 calls from in the past week, organizing what are we going to happen on DXSwap. Actually, you did most of the work because you created the project board and started putting like some milestones together, John, which is awesome, very good. Now we have a path forward, and yeah, technically nothing. I was busy with other personal project and I couldn't take a look at it, but yeah, we have the tokens already decided, the ones that we want to use for the DXSwap deployer. The good thing is that I think we are going to have the audit review, kind of like an informal review or an informal audit from our from field auditor that we used before. So let's see if that happens. Once that happens, we can deploy everything on mainnet. Everything will be the DXSwap deployer, and that will be executed with the proposal. One thing that we decided is that we are going to be working on the DXSwap tab and SDK to merge the latest changes from Uniswap UI and get everything ready for launch. But yeah, that's it. I don't know. Maybe Chris, should we did something else happen on the launch parameters, or is it already decided, all that stuff?
No, there's a signal proposal for the launch parameters, which were kind of the things I think we discussed last week. So that's like the max fee, the default fee, and then the pools that DXdao intends to sponsor. So that's just a signal proposal. And then next, I think we're kind of into what we were calling the iteration roadmap, and that would be things like rewards and pool governance. And so those won't come in the first launch day of launch, but will kind of be something we add as we develop. And so that's kind of still up in the air in terms of how that runs out. I think the only thing that we're still, I guess, will be decided that needs to be said before is the token list, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if Nico's on the call, but there is some activity there. I think he is on the call.
Yeah, I think it's
the list.
Yep. I'm here.
Do you want to touch on the token list and where that's at?
Yeah, so actually the proposal to add the list on DXSwap has just been ratified and executed earlier this morning, which means we're now able to add any kind of token we want to whitelist on DXSwap. And some of the first proposals have already been created, and Geronimo had this idea, which makes perfectly sense from my point of view, is that we add all of the tokens that are already listed on the Kleros token list to have them turned on by default. I already pinged Clement for that, just that we actually get a list of all of the tokens. And if you guys think that's a good idea, I would go ahead and create a proposal with all of those tokens.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sorry about that, Nico. We can add multiple tokens, right? So we can just make a bulk addition of all the tokens.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. We will use Kleros token list. How much tokens do they have? Do you know? Because I think we have a limit. We cannot add like 1,000 tokens. Maybe
yeah, so they have a white list of currently around 500 tokens. Plus there are several more in the process of getting whitelisted. But even if it's over 1,000 or something, we built the token registry back in the days that it's actually having a pagination function that you can query it in different sections. So that should still work even if we have tons of tokens there.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, great.
Zoran's asking, can somebody help him understand what the use of the token list is? So, I mean, this token list would be exactly the same as the list that it would get used in the front end for DXSwap in the same way that the multiple token lists, which you can choose on Uniswap, get used. And so basically, if you type in just the token ticker and it's on this list, that it would appear, right? It doesn't prevent you from pasting in the token address. You can always do that to find any token, even if it's not on this list, as long as it's exists somewhere in the DXSwap contracts. But this would be the ones that are kind of whitelisted and verified by the DXdao and appear with their icon by default in the UI. And just to touch a little bit more on the audits too. So I think there's 3 key pieces that are requiring audits. One of them has already been completed and the feedback is currently being addressed. That is the integration between DXdao and DXSwap, like the ability for it to control things, add liquidity, set fees, etc. The scheme, basically the DXSwap scheme, that's already been audited. The second piece is the changes that have been made to the Uniswap v2 contracts. So, basically the ability to modify fees was added into the core contracts and the periphery contracts. Those are 2 separate repos, and those are kind of should be reviewed, we think, and it's currently being quoted. So I think work on that could maybe start even as soon as next week. And then the final piece, and that includes also the deployer scripts, which would actually deploy those contracts. And then the final piece is, I guess we're calling it a relayer, but basically the intermediary contract, which would let DXdao add liquidity and remove liquidity from DXSwap and potentially do other things, I guess, like trade. And that's necessary because you need kind of real-time knowledge of what's going on, like awareness of what's going on chain. So you can't like queue up a proposal like 7 days in advance and then just execute it 7 days later, right? Like it needs to be handled by an intermediary contract. And so, yeah, I think those are the 3 key pieces, right? Did I miss anything, Augusto, that are basically needing audit?
Yep, positive.
Cool. So yeah, and so basically the first one's done, about to kick off the second one. I think optimistically those audits could be done in the matter of a couple of weeks. So, but let's see. I don't want to promise any dates yet. All right. Anything else on DXSwap?
Yeah, I'm currently designing up everything in Figma and trying to take what so I say the right name now. Nico, I think, did the analytics site and try to just make them one, so we don't have 2 different designs, first of all, and then just set up so we have the brand if people need the brand assets and stuff. I don't think I'm gonna redesign anything if we're gonna try to release DXSwap anytime soon, but I'm gonna do some small changes, hopefully only CSS changes, but there will be some UX changes I want to have, but that could be maybe version 1.1 or something. But I'm currently doing this.
Yeah, and it's great. So Zed is actually just starting full-time with DXdao, so that's awesome. And is taking charge of the DXSwap UI. That's great. Very cool. Anything else we want to add?
Keep thinking of ideas for DXSwap. I mean, I think this has kind of been a crazy last kind of couple of weeks and months. I think we have a really good foundation in terms of like pool governance. And I don't know, I think we're gearing up for that's Uniswap v3 or kind of whatever is next. I think this is a space that we can compete in and carve out kind of specific areas. And there's some tweaks we can do. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to it and hope to continue the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's a good channel on Keybase if you're not in it.
And the strategy call is tomorrow at the same time as this call, right? And everyone's welcome to join that. I personally view like this, like the DEX space is very highly competitive. I mean, because it's lucrative, right? And it's going to be very dynamic and competitive. And I think the DXdao advantages are kind of like what we've been describing, which is like governance, right, and the ability to do partnerships and stuff. And I think it's I think it's important to keep that in perspective in the current environment of yield farming and fast token launches and pumps and whatnot. I take more of a long view myself, and I think there's a lot of little ways in which DXdao can have the advantage. And it's also important to remember that DXSwap is like one of several products that DXdao manages, kind of part of an ecosystem. And on that note, Rails, I don't think Federico's on the call, but I think there's been a release, so now we're just waiting for somebody in the community to make a proposal, which will hopefully happen before long. Or I don't know, maybe there's still some feedback happening, but Sky, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple small changes, but I don't think that's holding back the being able to launch it. Separately, Mike and we made we're creating some like content around like a video with how to use like an overview demo of it. Maybe some smaller things to help promote it.
Great, and that's awesome. Yeah, Federico is the dev on this, and he's been doing this part-time. And good news here is I believe he's planning on actually coming and joining DXdao full-time as a worker as soon as his 2 weeks notice or whatever people call it for his job is up. I think it might be a month for him. All right, cool. I guess the last product thing we could cover is governance. I don't know, Augusto, if you wanted to chime in here. There was a meeting. I had a meeting with Geronimo and Matan to talk a little bit more like in depth on what a DAOstack's roadmap is and how that ties in with kind of what DXdao is doing. So it was an hour yesterday, but that was kind of just the start of the conversation. So it's going to continue, and I think this is sort of an extension of the more public calls that were held a couple weeks ago, and so hopefully it results in some kind of clear deliverables for the DXDAO's ecosystem that DAOstack will be working on.
Yeah. Also, to give a short update on other governance initiatives, the ERC20 guilds contracts are being tested. Like, BlockRocket, a couple of guys that DXdao hired to write the test are working it. They have a pull request already created, testing the ERC20 guild contracts, which hopefully we are going. We should be able to start thinking about how to deploy it and where we are going to start using them. Eventually, it's going to be the DXD guild, right? We need to start thinking about how it's going to be implemented. That's going to be a big step for governance to integrate DXD in our governance structure. That will be the goal. Where we already have a very nice advance on that. So yeah, that's going well.
In this DXD guild, it's also being referred to as ERC20 guild, and will also serve an important kind of piece in the DXSwap roadmap as adding the ability for the liquidity providers to govern their own pairs, and potentially other things down the line where ERC20 governance makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have a lot of things that. It's going to get interesting when we launch a DXSwap. It will be awesome if we can start seeing like traders and DXD holders to fight for the fee governance. I think that would be cool if everyone will want to have a chunk over that, because, for example, the idea is for the fees to be governed by the liquidity providers, right? But here we are going to have a DXD guild. So maybe should the DXD guild have the owners, have the control of the fee on the DXD pairs, or should the liquidity provider has it? So this is going to be interesting. The good thing is that we have options, and all of it is going to be using verified and audited contracts. So we will have plenty of room to see what is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else on the governance front? I know we'll get to the actual governance call in a few. But Ingemar, do you want to just recap the BizDev call?
Right. Ken pretty much summarized from Gnosis coming on and offering incentives for Mesa volume. We had Alf and DXdao talking again about that assets valuation thing, which I think a separate call was organized for that. Not much else besides the formation of a marketing department with a couple of key individuals in mind. One of them being Mike Eli for being very proactive with ideas for the launch of Rails and DXdao. So marketing department formulating.
Great. And then there's also the weekly dev call on Tuesday, but I think this mostly gets covered when we talk about products. Is there anything to add there, Augusto? I can't think of anything.
Nope.
Yeah. Great. Chris, going to cover the governance call?
Sure. Couple things. One, manifesto is passed, documentation. Second is the worker comp guidelines. This is, we spent most of the discussion on that. Let me get the thread in here. So this is something we've been working on the last month or so of trying to kind of update the guidelines, and I can't click. Yeah, and so we've kind of gone through this process. I think we're pretty strong on some of the wording on the overall structure. There's just a couple different things that we were trying to still do, primarily around the trial period. So if we're going to have a ramp up period, should that be something that is like 0 to 100, or do we kind of ease into that? And then second, on the DXd vesting, and we were discussing whether that would, we're actually voting on whether that be 1 or 2 years. I'm trying to find the link right now because I actually don't know what the poll said. I think it was 50% on the end of that. So we'll hopefully get to consensus on those in the next. I want to kind of close. I was thinking of closing the poll 3 days after it started, so that would have been Saturday. No, it's on Tuesday, so it would have been Friday night. And then hopefully we can move that to proposal and move forward with that. Also talk a lot about the DXdao stuff that Nylon mentioned at the beginning of the call. And I think that'll be a really interesting idea for us to compete or be more creative with governance and kind of be a bit more active there on signaling specifically. I think a lot of these things, like the worker compensation proposals, like I think the polls in DAO Talk are like good, but they're not like the only tool we can have. And I think something like DXdao, we could use something more creative there. I also have been like updating this document now, which I think should be a little bit better of a like, here are the different things that have passed or be going on lately. And I've been using this structure of governance 1.0, governance 1.x, and then governance 2.0. So governance 1.0 is the things that we're doing, on a weekly basis that are just the functioning of DXdao, whether that's worker compensation guidelines, whether that's like putting websites on, like kind of the daily workings. Governance 1.x is things that are slight improvements to the existing system. So the DXdao clone is a perfect example of this. It doesn't require an overhaul of the governance system, but it does give us a lot of good structure. But there are a lot of things we need to discuss. The ERC20 DXD Guild is another one. Like that doesn't change the whole governance structure, but there are a lot of things we need to discuss on that. Hopefully we can start doing that soon, actually, since Augusto said that that's moving forward. And then lastly, like governance 2.0, these would be like wholesale structural changes to the DXdao governance system, mostly to provide a better long-term alignment between rep holders and DXD. We spent a lot of time talking about these type of issues last week with Delphi. So anyway, this document kind of has those separated by that, and I'm going to try to update this as we kind of work on the different initiatives there. And I think that was it. Yeah.
Cool. Did you touch on the worker compensation guidelines, or did I?
Yeah, at the beginning, I didn't have the link in. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because that's one of the big things too. And cool. We have 10 minutes left. If anybody wants to bring something to the floor, Sky, you want to talk about how Panvala is going and how I'm willing to give people Pan?
Yeah, everyone in this call, and then if you could also bring one other person from DXdao community, or actually outside of the DXdao community. John's giving out Pan. You donate the Pan to this Gitcoin grant, which supports the DeFi community, and it's really creates a big leverage and a big multiple of matching from the sizable amount of Pan inflation that's happening this Bitcoin round, and so it's a way to really benefit the community and get a lot of awareness for DXdao. So,
did anyone reach out to the Telegram? DXdao Telegram?
Yeah. And the DXdao Telegram. Yeah, it's in there. I can put it again. Things disappear in all of those things very quickly, but we can continue.
I can do the same on Discord. Just I think there's some people there that might.
Cool. The other cool thing you can do is, so Meta Gamma Delta has, there's 10 communities that are all part of the Panvala league system this time, and if you want to yourself, you can. It would be cool to donate to all 10 of those, some amount of Pan, but it's up to you guys. And there's a cool layer 2 experience on Gitcoin Grant this time, and it actually is a really good way to see how easy layer 2 solutions can be. So I suggest everyone go and donate mainly Pan to different grants on Gitcoin, and you'll get to experience how easy a layer 2, I think it's ZK Sync solution can be. It's almost like a Web 2 experience. It's pretty cool. Well, Gitcoin is down right now, okay, but when it's back up.
I actually tried it yesterday, and I ended up paying more gas using layer 2 on.
Yeah.
But,
so if you do like 1 grant or 2 grant, like 5 grants, cheaper to do it yourself. But if you're doing like 35 grants, it's much cheaper to use layer 2.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sky. Another thing I just thought of is there's a newly minted marketing channel in Keybase. I don't know, Ingemar, if you wanted to touch on that a little.
Yeah, join that. I think we're gonna just talk marketing ideas, strategy, potential tweets, all of that. It's gonna show up in the marketing channel. So please join that. And that's also where the Airtable is with like the content calendar that Mike and I are working on.
Nice.
I was wondering, did anybody have issue with going on to Alchemy, because I can't access it. It's like services all overloaded. That's what it says to me.
There has been some issues with the graph. This is the graph. Like, yeah, this is the graph.
Service is overloaded. That is, it can get overloaded sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same issue.
Yeah.
Yuri is on this call and washing his car at the same time.
He's washing his car.
That's dedication.
I do have something somewhat related to the marketing channel now that we're talking about like not important things. We're not like at the end of the call. I want to create another. Sorry, I want to have another channel for sharing things because feel like I'm overloading different channels, whether it's a DX Biz or the development channel. So I want a hashtag or a name for a channel that we can like share interesting articles, podcasts, things like that. It's a little bit more like for instance, Sky, I don't want to call you out, but the article you shared this morning right before the call, I shared 2 days ago with a couple comments on in the same channel that you had. And I just feel like we need like a better way of tracking that.
Ecosystem news or something?
It's got to be cool. I'll think of it. This is just, if you think of something you get dropped, this is not a important thing. It's more of
so
give me
there's
something to share
a
things.
new and ETH channel, and I believe it was created. You guys, Sky and Chrissy, are both in it.
Yeah.
The one issue that's happening now is as the community grows, all of these channels are getting so filled up with things that I think a lot of people are missing a lot of things. So, and there's no like good way to like highlight. I mean, you can pin stuff, but
yeah, I mean, that's literally why I want to do this one. So that it's more of like, I think because it will take away from like coordinating around actual, like, you know, things for DX swap as opposed to like just some interesting articles about AMMs. But to get meta on this, like, I mean, I was thinking about this. We've got the Airtable now. Like we've had our conversations with Jitsi, and like I do think we should start thinking more seriously about these processes and how we like, on how we're strategically doing them, because it doesn't have an effect on communication efficiency. I think there are things like I'm still thinking. I think I'm going to try to do a monthly post or like something in review. I think there are things like that, but it's also just like making sure that we're using tools that interoperate well. Augusto.
Yeah, or one thing that we can do, listen to this idea. We get all of us in like a token list, right? And the DXdao will decide each week who leaves the token list. It will be like a big brother on DXdao. So one people will have one.
So Survivor blockchain style with the DXdao.
Yeah, right? And we'll have a prize. So this will be like the first big brother. We can move from DeFi to a reality show on blockchain or something like that.
So we can also use like like some type of conviction voting. So let's say you have just like a list of things using our DXdao. We could upvote stuff on that list, basically using rep or DXD, and that way like the important articles and stuff flow to the top. And so that stuff's already happening on a bunch of other ecosystems, but we could do that for ourselves. And I also shared a bunch of tools in the quite decentralized space that Status, who we're talking to about more of a partnership, a lot of the tools that they've been using for the last couple of years, that some are self-hosted, but some of their tools are better than what we have. And figuring out which of those tools we can leverage would be helpful.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this, because it's like we're also trying to like empower and enable like decentralized tools. So it's like also in our interest, not just of like a pure efficiency thing.
And something else that has been getting talked about a bit that I've noticed is like, how do we better kind of present information from DXdao? And so I think there's a lot of kind of realization of this, right? That the website needs to be better, et cetera. I think part of it is just right now, like people are spread a little bit thin with the different product priorities and stuff, but hopefully before long we'll have a lot of this like newly revamped, documents and processes like the manifesto and the worker guidelines and product roadmaps and all that like included on the DXdao landing page.
Right. So about that one content piece, the Rails article, I really think that every day that that's not put out as like, it's like less exposure for Rails. And I think it's kind of, I don't know, we got a lot of attention from Rails, like on Twitter, and no one has anything to really read about it. And I think that we should just get it out and say coming soon. And I think that's better than like another 2 weeks of Rails not being live and no one knowing anything about it. I think we should have something to hype the crowd up. And if we have to, like, we can, you know, Zoran's still going to pitch it to other like publications. So there will be more content about it around like the launch. And when it launches, like, I'll just write something and say Rails is live. Boom. But we got to have people's attention. We got to have people watching out for this so that they're like ready.
Yeah, also, Quarkus challenged me my proposal a little bit. So I've accepted to write 2 additional press releases for Rails. The only concern is that we don't know the exact date when it's going to be live. And that's a very important detail. Otherwise, it's not going to be taken seriously.
Right. Yeah. Let's just look out. I think once there's a proposal up, then the date will be relatively clear. So I think we can coordinate this probably in the Rails chat. But I think that all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like if we're gonna if it's gonna be proposed like today or tomorrow, then like I'd wait. But I thought it would be proposed like days ago. So that's why I'm just trying to say like let's do this now, because I really don't know when this will be like ready. So that's my thinking. Just get the message out, get people talking about it.
I mean, the message is gonna, yeah. I mean, like when the message, yeah. I mean, it comes out. I guess like we're waiting to get this out, but it's like, is the market or the audience like waiting?
Well, they don't know what to wait for because they don't know that.
Yeah,
right.
We can adjust the article. So instead of focusing on the actual launch, and we can just sort of make it into like an intro piece. So to explain more about Rails, what it is, so people have something to read about it, and basically reinvigorate the conversation.
Yeah, I was only thinking because I know this is always like a weird timing process. Like that's kind of like the nature of this is to be able to timing. But I feel like we probably will know 5 or 6 days before. I don't know, John, if that's accurate in terms of like how like once it gets in the queue, we will have like a little bit of a leeway. So I think if we had an article that was like 5 or 6 days before the launch, and we knew that when that launch was, that would that seems like that would still work and be optimal.
Guys, what has to happen for this exact proposal? Just what does the proposal need to contain to be able to like be executable?
So generally, like the developers are working on the code, right? And I don't think it's generally their responsibility to do the deployment itself, right? So they released the code, they did that for the DXdao. They're contractors, right? Kind of independently working in some cases. And then it's really up to anyone from the community to go to the release, deploy it, follow the instructions to deploy it, and then once they have the deployment on IPFS, to then go to Alchemy and make a proposal which includes it in there.
So it's like a slightly technical task? Like
yes.
Yeah. Is there a guide for a non-technical person to do it?
We probably should work on something right there, because I think it's actually pretty critical that this is an accessible thing for anybody to do in the DXdao. Like you don't want to be relying on like known parties to be doing this kind of stuff.
Right. Okay, but right now it's fair to say that like a DXdao familiar developer has to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's It's not that difficult, but I mean, I think it could be made. It could be better documented.
Okay. Okay, let's definitely take this up in the chat and figure out a way to do it. And then whoever does it, known or unknown, we could, we being whoever, could compensate the gas, I suppose, right? Is that, how much would the gas cost be to propose that right now, roughly?
$50.
Okay. Is that the...
I just like worst case.
Yeah, let's do $30.
Okay.
But also the DXdao is compensating gas. So
75%.
Right. Okay. Okay.
All right, yeah, let's follow up with this on the chat. We're running a little over here, so I think we can wrap. And unless there's anything else.
Happy fall.
Yeah. Northern Hemisphere
Northern
fall.
Hemisphere.
Yeah. Happy spring to those of us.